Hello everybody, welcome back. We're here to do another Kindle sample. This one is special because this one was recommended by a viewer. That's right. If you recommend, I've often said, put recommendations, put your thoughts in the comments. You recommend something, I'm going to put it on my list, and by God, I'm going to do it. So this was recommended to me by a viewer, Dragon Kansa. Many YouTube handles aren't meant to be said out loud, but it was a recommendation for this Nepali poet and writer named Buddhisagar, and the book is called Karnali Blues. You can see it right there. And I did a little bit of, research, went a little Wikipediaing on Buddhisagar, a poet out of Nepal, a poet and novelist, and I thought, hey, why not? I like recommendations, so thank you very much for that. So the cover is interesting. The cover has, what looks like a father and son, or parent and child, walking over water, blue water. Not something I usually associate with Nepal. Nepal, I think of mountains. I don't think of deep seas, but there's got to be lakes and stuff there too, I'm sure. The things I know about Nepal, you could fit in. Anyway, so what the cover implies to me, though, is depth, of course, right? They're walking along the surface of this water, and then it gets kind of darker and darker as it goes. And so there are, I think, which is certainly true in almost any relationship, there are plenty of hidden depths. There are things that we don't normally get to see about a relationship and what it entails. So that was what I thought. So this is my first time reading Nepalese literature. Looking forward to it. Can't wait. And why don't I do that? So stick around. I'll go read the sample, and I will be right back. All right, that was lovely. That was really nice. It was really nice. It was really nice to read. It is, it's framed as a sad story. So let's get it started right away. It is this young man who comes to the hospital. He discovers that his father is very, very ill, and he comes to visit his father in the hospital. And that is kind of the framing of this story. It kind of bounces between the present, where he's with his dad at the hospital, at his bedside, trying to help him out, trying to help him, use the toilet, make sure he's getting his medicine, trying to make sure that his mother is not overworking herself, and then flashing back to memory of when he was a child and what his childhood was like. And so that's kind of what this does. Most of the sample is focused on childhood, but at least it gives us that initial start. And what's interesting is actually the very beginning of the book is our narrator, who is Brisha Bahadur, there we go, being told a story of his origin, where his mother likes to joke that they kind of found him on the side of the road and decided to pick him up. And it's not true, and he gets all sad, and they reassure him, no, it's fine. But in fact, the true story is that, his mother was very, very pregnant, and that she did, in fact, have him on the side of the road. So he wasn't found there, but he was born there. And that sort of beginning bit is the child promising his parents never to leave them, right? Promising his parents, I'll always be with you, mommy and daddy. I love you so much. And then we get into the present, and it's very, very clear that he has indeed, like most people do, he has gone off to start a life of his own. He has left the family home. And it seems like his parents aren't entirely thrilled about it, right? When he comes to see his father in the hospital, he is very worn out. He is very worried, as you would be. And the initial sort of relationship with his mother suggests that he doesn't call or write nearly as often as he should. He has gone off and lived his own life, which is ostensibly a good thing, but his mom's not terribly happy about that. So that's kind of how this is. And I think if you look at the chapter listing, the table of contents, it's the nth day, right? The first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day. So what I think is going to happen is we're going to see each day begin with in the hospital taking care of his father. And every time that happens, we will then go back to this childhood. And the way that it is written is that it's beautiful writing. I want to get that on the table right now, because I kind of have to establish that before I start off. Because, as I said, the writer is that was a thing. The writer is a poet. And so I was kind of expecting, when I read the book or the sample, for a lot of beautiful language. And indeed, there is a lot of beautiful language. I understand this is translated, right? It's translated by someone named Michael Hutt. And translation is always going to be tough, right? If you're not a reader of Nepali, then I'm sure there's a lot that's not quite making its way. But one of the things I noticed is that Buddhisagar uses a lot of similes in his writing, but especially when talking about his parents, right? There's a lot of these. And I do love a good simile. We all remember what a simile is, right? We're saying X is like Y, right? Something like that. You know, he runs like a cheetah. It's as his eyes were as dark as night, stuff like that, right? So we use a lot of that when talking about his parents, say that his hair looked like cotton. Father's invalid face was like a yellowing leaf, his breath like a monsoon river. I was leaving my parents for the first time like a piece of color leaving a rainbow. I thought that was really nice, and it kind of stood out to me after a little while, so I went back and started highlighting those. But when he goes back to talk about his childhood, what he does really, really nicely is he doesn't quite reveal everything about the narrator's childhood. We know that he lived in a poor place because when we find out about his father getting taken to the hospital, we learn that pretty much the only way that could happen is a UN helicopter showing up. And they talk about the UN helicopter, and they bring him out, and they're like, please take my husband to a hospital. And the UN's like, we can't do that right now. And they go and they have to send another helicopter. And we get the sense that there's a lot of United Nations kind of aid and work that happens in this place. So we understand that they are a poor village. They're a poor part of Nepal. And so we kind of expect in our head, okay, the narrator and his parents are probably fairly poor. But no, they're not really. The father was, in his heyday, was a doctor. His father was, it seems, was pretty wealthy. His father, they dressed well. They had good food. When we learn about Brisha's friends, we learn that his friends have to steal fruit if they want to eat it, but Brisha gets to have a bunch of grapes that his father brings home. And we start to learn that, he's different from the other people in his village. His family has money. His father's a doctor. His father takes care of people. And in fact, for his father's family, this is kind of a step down, right? His father decided that he was going to go and help people who needed help, which is wonderful. It is a very noble thing, and it really paints his father in a very, very good light. And what you start to get from the flashbacks is that the son, as a child anyway, was like a lot of kids, like a lot of little boys, kind of selfish, kind of self-centered, right? Didn't really appreciate what his parents did for him. There's one little sequence where there's a type of hat that he wants, that he saw somebody wearing, and he says to his dad, Daddy, I want a hat. And his father goes and buys him a nice hat, and he cries because it's not the right hat. And he gets very upset and throws a tantrum until his dad buys him the right hat. Meanwhile, like I said, there's other kids who are getting beaten by their parents and who are handicapped or disabled, and if they want to eat fresh fruit, like I said, they got to steal it and risk punishment for it. So he grows up, I think, not really understanding that he's better off than the people around him. So there is certainly that. There's an incident where the boys, the narrator, Brisha, and his friend decide that they're going to make some money, so they go and they print Naga, which basically is taking these leaves and you print kind of a symbol on them, and you can sell them to people for good luck. And they can hang them in their houses for good luck or to keep spirits away, of course. And the narrator's mother is very angry. She's like, no, we don't do that kind of thing. Only the yogis do those sort of things. The poor beggars do those sorts of things. That's not like us. Those are not our people, right? And she gets very, very upset. Yeah, and that's kind of where it's going. The sample's not over long, but it is long enough that we start to get this sense of this is a coming-of-age novel, right? I've seemed to be seeing a lot of these recently. This is a story of a young man who grew up with very loving parents that probably he didn't really appreciate, and then had the opportunity to go off and to start his own life. And now, when his father is ill, I imagine the rest of the book is going to be him coming to some kind of resolution with that, coming to some kind of understanding that he did not understand his father very well, and probably his father didn't understand him either. I don't expect the father's going to survive the rest of the book. Just the way that it's written at the very beginning sounds like he's in extraordinarily poor shape. And then the narrator's going to have to deal with that. Going to have to deal with the mistakes that he made as a younger person, the way that we all do. I think when we get to a point where we are reviewing our relationship with our parents, especially if they are elderly, especially if they're ill, and we have to think about, like, how have I behaved towards them? Have I appreciated the things that they did for me? Have I shown that appreciation? And sometimes it's easy for that to get away from you. And so I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of the book. It is very nice. And like I said, the writing is just lovely. It is really, really pretty. So I like it. It's a good recommendation. Thank you very much. So yeah, that is my thoughts on this one. Karnali Blues. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of it. If you've read Karnali Blues, if you've got other thoughts on this text or Nepali literature in general, or you want me to read another book, put it in the comments. Make sure that you subscribe, of course, so that you know when I'm putting these out and all that good stuff. And yeah, I think that's it for right now. So thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it as always. I will see you next time.